have a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. This is a public hearing, and I'm glad to see all the public here today.
We'll
You up in
extend
the
it.
booth, would you like to come down and participate in this? Give us your input. I'm on. Okay. You want to come down and give us your input so that we have some public?
You got one. You got one. There he is.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so I'd like to open up the public hearing for comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come before the council and give their ideas and thoughts on our CDBG grant coming up now for next year? Maximum amount allotted to us would be $500,000. Mark? This is just discussion and input, so we'll save you the oath.
Right.
We were actually
You can lie.
waiting-
You can lie to us all you want.
You're just waiting for me.
We were waiting for you.
Well, there's two topics that are on my mind. One, of course, is affordable housing. Speaking to the mic. One, of course, is affordable housing, and I don't know if you have anything planned, thought of, or looking at. I know I've spoken with many of you about affordable housing over the years, and I don't know if the CDBG grant money is, as one of the projects is for that or not. The other project is a further development of the hospital area with the expansion of Morgan Road going from Weimer Road up to the Maestas connection as part of that development area. I've had many conversations with the CEO of the hospital and the owner of the properties over there, and some of that also relates to a possible affordable housing property that needs to be opened up. Mr. Cook owns quite a bit of property in phase 2 of a subdivision there that has not been done, adjacent to Morgan Road extension, which I've done the research, and I know the town now owns the easement for Morgan Road or that property, but there's no road there. So those are my two topics. Affordable housing is wide open. We discussed it. I don't know if there's anything, nothing is shovel ready, so I'm not sure if that's eliminated automatically.
If you could, Mark, give us a little bit of a few ideas as to how you think that this money could partner with the private sector to do affordable housing.
I had some conversations with a couple of private individuals who, it's mostly rental. Sorry, speak right into it better so everyone can hear me. I've spoken to two individuals who are very interested in the affordable housing market here in Taos. One gentleman, Mr. Crozier, who's done 4 or 5 low-income housing tax credit projects. I've spoken to him. He's doing another one here. I told him of the interest that the town has with the current Chamisa Verde project, and he said that he would be happy to come up and discuss options and opportunities. It's still unclear in terms of what's available, but from his perspective, and another gentleman I spoke with who's just come back from other third world countries where they're developing housing, his concern, of course, is for more rental units. It seems to be that what we need is rental rather than home ownership. And there's plenty of land available with the right zoning. There's plus or minus infrastructure in many locations. There is no specific plan on the table for the use of the money at this point, but every project needs a variety of subsidies to make them functional in terms of keeping the rents low enough given the reduced cost now of construction and infrastructure. But still, the biggest concern that I have is that there hasn't really been an effective affordable housing study done in terms of what the real demand is. I don't know clearly what it is from where I stand. I know there was a study done for the artist in residence rental project that has been discussed, and I don't know if anything has been done in the recent years in terms of really identifying the needs. My empirical evidence tells me that there's more single people looking for residences here than families. and the need for small 400, 500, 600 square foot one-bedroom units is the single biggest demand from my empirical study, having been involved in enough of it to know that there isn't much of that available of any quality level. Most of that is very substandard. So my project would be a major one-bedroom or studio rental project for the community.
Question?
Just a comment, but I do believe in Mr. Manager. Maybe you can shed some light on this, but I do believe that there was a study done recently with, that we reviewed some maybe 3 months ago.
Yes, sir. There was a study. There was a study done. It's almost 4 years old. Excuse me, almost 3 years old. It was done in partnership with the University of Mexico. On the basis of that study, Tom passed the affordable housing plan. One of the points in that plan is to or updated study to precisely identify basic markets. But yes, there is a study 2 years old.
That was the one for the artist project. That's what it was done for. You have 2 different studies on affordable. Ah, okay. I've only seen the one. I participated in the one. I didn't know the other. And what did it tell you?
Among other things, that we are about 190 units in deficit in terms of demand versus what's out there, without regard to quality. So if you took into account the things that might be very low quality, living in the same category as the top quality, is about 100. We're in a deficit at the time of that study, about 190.
Was that identified as family, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom? How was that broken down in terms of the demand?
That would be, I'd have to look at the study to break it down for you, but that would be the whole lump if you added all the categories together to that, whether it's a small unit. Oh, I'm sorry. I was off. Here I was telling you, get closer to the mic, and mine was off. I'm sorry. To answer the question, so there was a study. That study looked at different categories, and if we were to lump them all together, whether it's multifamily, single or single family or single individuals, we're about 190 units in deficit at the time of that study.
Is that a lot or a little?
For a community this size, that is almost emergency levels.
One other question then. What is the current status of the Chamisa Verde subdivision in terms of its ability to move forward or not?
No, it's ready to move forward. There's, of course, more infrastructure we can put on there, but there are a number of lots available that are not developed. In fact, we're making some of those lots available to Habitat for Humanity now as part of the plan.
Okay, I'm referencing the delays that were put on by the Attorney General's office and the Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, waiting for documentation and other auditing information. I have worked with Habitat, and I didn't know if the lots are actually ready to be conveyed yet or not.
Yes, they're ready.
Okay, that was my question. They're getting 6 lots?
8.
8.
That's what we're looking at. And at the last minute, we discovered a house, that already built house over there that might be in play as well. Santa Claus, yes.
At the last minute?
Santa Claus gave us a house.
Okay.
You made a comment about Morgan Road and the development around that. How, what type of development would be going in around there that you are aware of?
That road borders on one side by the hospital property, on the other side by Richard Cook's property. I've been working on and off for many years with Richard Cook in further developing the existing subdivision, which status is questionable. He's been paying property tax on about 30 or 40 lots that have never been developed. And whether it's an approved subdivision or not, he was willing to undo everything or start from scratch to do some affordable housing project in relationship to the hospital with its needs, with visiting nurses, and also with people that wanted to have a place to stay for extended periods, to visit with people at the hospital, we discussed it on and off many times. Mr. Cook actually purchased an additional triangle of property from the Weimer family to be able to straighten out that Morgan Road intersection. There was he bought the land, so that's available to do a straight 90 with that Morgan Road intersection. But it was part of the hospital development. It was going through expansion phases, on again, off again, depending on their budget. And spoke with Mr. Hofstetter, is that the CEO's name? He indicated we've spoken many times about his need for housing for visiting nurses in particular. So that was pretty much where I saw things.
Does he have the funding to build the housing?
It depends on what year you talk to him. This has
Right-
been ongoing for several years now.
I know, but with a budget shortfall with them right now of about $2 million per year, I don't see that they have the money to do that sort of development.
Right, but what that leads them to do then is to have less people on salary and more part-time nurses to substitute for their budgets, and then they need housing for that situation. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for their budget.
No, I'm just saying, but with that budget, they couldn't afford to do the development of that area themselves. They'd have to have...
No, they would
someone-
contract with a private party who would develop the housing, who would then make it available for his staff. It wasn't that the hospital was going to build or do the housing, but they had a need for it, and that was what was going to generate the build-out from Mr. Cook's property if we could understand what the demand side was and how many units that he could build out.
Do you know if Mr. Cook has straightened out his issue with the floodplain into his subdivision?
Absolutely not. That's part of the Morgan Road issue, is part of the Steve Rose issue, part of the Maestas Road extension issue. All of that is tied together in a major way. Recently just met with Mr. Rodriguez and also Mr. Morris about some of that stuff, and brought out a scoping report for the Maestas Road extension and the drainage issues from 1997 that I have a copy of. So it's just more projects that have been on the books for years, and whether or not it's ready this year or not, just throwing it into the mix.
Councilman.
I just wanted to point out that I've known Mr. Cook for quite a number of years, and recently I had a conversation with him. I say recently, but it's probably about maybe 6-8 months ago. And he was asking to see if he could perhaps work with the town a little bit more closely to resolve some of these issues with regards to drainage. And at that time, we still did not have a manager in place. And so I had suggested to him the last time I was here that he should make an appointment with the manager and maybe start to put that on the table and try to resolve those issues, because I know it's quite entangled and it's really restricting him from moving forward. But he was wanting some cooperation from the town, and I assured him that the first step is just to talk to the manager, and then we take it from there.
Well, representing him as his agent on again, off again over the years, I've done some work for him, and we did have that meeting with town planner and Mr. Rodriguez about what's going on over there, and there's more to it than just Mr. Cook. But he was willing to participate, almost to actually supply materials for the road if that's what it required. Couldn't really put up the labor, but he made a variety of offers. He didn't know which way things were going around here. Again, agreed without any town manager at the time. It was left off the table. But this was about 6 months ago when they brought it back to me to see if we could resurrect it.
Right. Yeah, he didn't explain to me in detail who all the parties were involved, but he did express to me that he was looking for some cooperation, and I assured him, well, that's what we're here for. So I didn't know how you were involved, but thanks for enlightening us.
Sure.
If I may, Councilman, the way, just to give you a little more information on that conversation that we had, and by that means give you some of the details of how such a project would work. The town has done this in other areas, including the Chamisa Road extension, where the first phase was the drain. We did a drainage phase, and then this year we're doing the base for the road, and it would be later that the paving would take place, and it would be that sort of approach that would take place here. That the first phase would be the drainage, and no question, this project would have to be tied to that subdivision right now that suffers from some inundation in bad storms, and so this project then therefore would be not so much the extension of the road, but as the development of the basic platform, beginning with the drainage for perhaps later on the road.
The drainage solution itself is based on the Maestas Road design, which picks up a lot of the water heading through that property. There was quite a bit of design work done with channeling that water, and eventually it was supposed to go to the main drainage system on the other side of Paseo Canyon. That's where through the Goodman property, a lot of that water is supposed to be picked up on Maestas and sent across to underneath the road where the culverts already exist to pick up that water to alleviate their problem. It's not just a one-spot problem.
So, Mr. Yarovitz, so the proposal, just to be precise here, the proposal would be to use the CBG dollars for next year to do that first phase of that road.
Well, interestingly enough, that's probably correct, and maybe it's not Morgan Road at this time. Maybe it's part Maestas extension, part Morgan Road, scraping and compacting only, and identifying it, and maybe some drainage solutions as part of that. It's not necessarily just put in Morgan Road and pave it. It's part of that whole development area that needs to be looked at, and I'm sure that whatever money is allotted is not enough to do all of it. That's not in doubt.
Any further questions? Mark? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make comment or express their ideas as to what we should do? By the way, Mark, we have not made any decision as to how that money is going to be used yet. We're still in the input process, so.
What other choices are there, if I may ask?
We don't know yet because we haven't had staff produce their wish list yet as well. So we need the public's input first before we look at in-house.
Perfect timing.
So thank you very much for being the public.
Sorry, Mark.
Is there any other I'll close the public hearing at this time then. Do I have a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
Close the hearing first.
I was ready to adjourn, but motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second. Jesus.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any other matters to be brought for the public hearing at this time? And that's the only thing that's on the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Stay stuck there.
And frankly, as Jefferson pointed out, it should be considered a living document. He said you wouldn't expect